Michael Jackson is arguably the most famous celebrity that's ever lived, and although there are many specific moments in his career that contributed to that success, the biggest of those moments, the one that put him on the map forever, was Thriller. Thriller came off the success of Jackson's first adult solo album, Off the Wall, and helped to catapult Jackson into new heights we never thought were even possible. It is the best-selling album of all time. There's nothing ahead of it, and at the time of this recording, Thriller has sold over 70 million units, just unfathomable numbers. And with all that out of the way, let's dive into the greatest album of all time. Off the Wall was undoubtedly a success, but Michael wasn't satisfied. He wanted more. But he didn't want just more, he wanted to be the best. 25 years after the release of Thriller, Jackson opened up about his expectations for the album in an archived MTV News Online article. It was a complete transition. Ever since I was a little boy, I would study composition, and it was Tchaikovsky that influenced me the most. If you take an album like Nutcracker Suite, every song is a killer. Every one. So I said to myself, why can't there be a pop album where every song is a killer? So when Michael turned 21, he got straight to work. He hired John Branca as his manager and told Branca that he wanted to be the biggest and wealthiest star in show business. Michael was so obsessed about creating a project in which every single song was a hit. Every song had to be a killer. There would be no filler on the B-side of this record. Jackson had a little bit of extra motivation too, as in that same year, Rolling Stone declined to do a cover story on him, and it really frustrated him, something he confided in Branca about. I've been told over and over that black people on the cover of magazines just doesn't sell copies. Just wait. Someday, those magazines are going to be begging me for an interview. Maybe I'll give them one, maybe I won't. We'll get back to that part later. Off the Wall is regarded as one of the best, if not the best, disco album ever, but due to Jackson's ability and need to innovate and find a new sound, and also the death of disco at the time, Thriller was going to sound nothing like its predecessor. Jackson went right back to the studio with his producing partner Quincy Jones, as the two would record and produce an album that would shatter all expectations. But the process didn't come without its struggles or differences. Originally, Quincy Jones didn't want to put Billie Jean on the album, but Michael insisted that this song had to be on Thriller, and then Jones wanted to shorten the intro or rename the track to Not My Lover, but Michael just wasn't having it. Billie Jean was a personal song for Michael, as he struggled with obsessed fans since he was a little boy, so whether or not this song was going to become the hit it is known as today, it was going to make the album. Look, Quincy Jones did a lot of fantastic things for Thriller, which we'll get into in a minute, but Billie Jean not being on Thriller, I just can't imagine it. A total of 30 songs were recorded for Thriller, with 9 of them ending up being on the album. The vocal range on this project is just incredible. I mean, in my opinion, it is by far Michael Jackson's best album vocally. I mean, you play a song like Baby Be Mine, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It does not get better than this. No one on the planet could be doing what Michael Jackson was doing on Thriller. Jackson collaborated with a few big-name artists for this project, a step in another direction than Off the Wall, which was basically just Michael. The Girl Is Mine, which served as the lead single for Thriller, actually was the first collaboration between Jackson and Paul McCartney, and there actually is footage from the studio session for The Girl Is Mine. Have a look. It's also interesting to note that The Girl Is Mine debuted at the number 2 spot on the Billboard charts when it released as the first single for Thriller, and that was seen as a disappointment. That's what the expectations were for this album. Eddie Van Halen famously recorded the guitar solo for Beat It, but he actually wasn't supposed to. He actually broke a band rule that said that you can't record or produce on someone else's production from a different label, so that's why Van Halen's credit on Thriller is uncredited. Another fun fact about this song is that while recording the solo for Beat It, according to the engineers who were in the room, The solo was so good that it actually set the speakers on fire.
Eddie was playing and so on, and the monitor speakers literally caught on fire.
The whole speaker was caught fire. And we're all looking at it, this must be really good, this song.
The technicians had to race into the control room with fire extinguishers and put out the fire.
Horror film icon Vincent Price does the iconic outro on the title track Thriller, a decision that was actually made by Quincy Jones. When Price was brought in, he was given two options for payment, either a flat fee of $20,000 or percentages of the album's royalties. Guess which one he chose? The title track Thriller is basically a Halloween anthem, as it's become synonymous with the holiday. As recently as 2025, Thriller charted in the top 10 of the Billboard charts during Halloween weekend. That charting made Jackson the only artist in history to have a top 10 chart in 6 separate decades: the 1970s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s. When the album was finished, both Jackson and Jones were not satisfied with the final product and actually went back and remixed every single song on the album, which took a week per song. Promotion for this album changed the game. 7 of the 9 tracks were released as singles and charted in the top 10, making that killer thing that Jackson was talking about earlier become a reality. All of the songs on this project were hits. And Michael became one of the first artists to use music videos for promotional purposes as well. Before Michael, MTV did not put black artists on their channel, but due to the success of music videos like Thriller, Beat It, and Billie Jean, they were forced to relent and their viewership skyrocketed because of it. Jackson broke racial barriers at a time in which black artists were not seen on the same footing as white artists, and after Thriller's release, Time magazine wrote in 1984 that, quote, "Jackson is the biggest thing since the Beatles. He is the hottest single phenomenon since Elvis Presley. He may just be the most popular black singer ever." The iconic cover for Thriller was shot in 1982 by Dick Zimmerman, which sees Jackson posing next to a little baby tiger. When Thriller released in 1982, it shattered records. It quickly climbed to the #1 spot on the Billboard charts and pushed Jackson into unfathomable stardom. That manager Jackson hired, John Branca, got him the highest album royalty rate in music history up to that point, which saw Jackson's fortune skyrocket along with his fame. I think Rolling Stone would have regretted not doing that cover story if they didn't get a second chance to do a cover story in 1983. No Thriller tour actually ended up happening, as Jackson would go on the Victory Tour with the rest of his brothers for the Jackson 5 tour, and although there were Thriller songs that ended up being on that tour, it wasn't really a solo tour, it was a Jackson 5 one. It would actually be the last Jackson 5 tour ever, as without his brother's knowledge, Michael just seemingly announced on tour that it would be the last time the brothers would go on tour together, as Michael would break off and do his own solo ventures. That moment really marks Jackson's complete breakoff from the rest of his family, and really pushing him to a complete solo artist. Thriller helped to make that happen. The album didn't just break sales records, it broke awards records. In 1983, Jackson won a record-breaking 8 Grammys for Thriller, including Producer of the Year, which went to both Quincy and Michael. Thriller is currently 34 times platinum, and was the first album ever to reach 30 times platinum, and as mentioned earlier, it is the best-selling album of all time. Thriller is also Michael Jackson's album with the most released material, as for the 25th and 40th anniversaries for this album, there were bonus features released in a re-released version of the album. These included songs that didn't end up making the original cut, including songs like Sunset Driver, which is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs ever. And I guess we've sort of unofficially reached the end of the Michael Jackson album run on my channel. I started with Invincible all the way back like 6 or so months ago, and just recently I've just been going through every single Michael Jackson album in no particular order, just making videos about them. So I guess this officially concludes that series. I do sometime in the future, not in my next video, but sometime in the future, I do plan on doing a video about all of Michael Jackson's Motown solo records, so I hope you stick around for that. But thank you all for taking the time every day to watch this. It is always greatly appreciated. Whether you like, you watch, you subscribe, whatever you do, it is all greatly appreciated. If you want to follow me in any of my socials, pretty active on Twitter. The links to those are down in the description. with all that out of the way, I will see you on the flip side.